And joining us now on the line from Tehran, Iran, Professor Sadegh Zeba-Kalam, political science professor at Tehran University. It's very good of you to join us on the line from your capital city tonight. Thank you very much.
Hello, good evening.
Professor, let me start with the results of the election. You know, of course, that conservatives won most of the seats in the parliamentary elections that were held on Friday. But we have heard that 1,700 reformist candidates were disqualified from running. And many people have also said that there were acts of fraud committed in this election, both in terms of the voting and the counting. So I think people over here want to know, how truly free and fair was this election?
Well, let me, before we start, let me just make a correction that you stated that most of the seats have been won by the Conservative. I must qualify that and say that against all the odds, the reformists have done much better than it was expected, and so far they have managed to capture some between 55 to 70 seats in the first round of the parliamentary election. Now, going back to the more fundamental issue that you raised, could we call, or should we call, or can we call the Iranian election a free and fair election? Well, it depends. If you compare it to the election, the general election that you have in Canada, it can neither be described as free nor as fair. However, if you compare it to the elections that we had before the Islamic Revolution, and if you compare this election to other countries in the region, it can by all means be described adequately and without any doubt as a free and fair election, because we didn't have this kind of election before the Islamic Revolution, and we don't have even this kind of election in most of the countries in the region.
Okay, that's a fair point, but let me ask you this. Do you think any of the alleged violations that did take place had a major change on the outcome that might have otherwise taken place?
Certainly, a number of leading reformist candidates were disqualified by the Guardian Council, or to put it differently, by the government. Now, had these people been given a chance to enter the race, the results would have been different, because if you recall, when I began my interview with you, I stated that the reformists have done a lot better than it was expected. The reason for that is that in many small constituency, in many small cities and towns throughout Iran, where the people have attended the polling station, when the number of people who have actually taken part in the election have been reasonably high, most of the votes have been for the reformists. Unfortunately, in Tehran and many other principal cities, the people who have taken part in the election, the figure has been very low. In Tehran, something like a third of the people who could have voted actually bothered to vote.
Why do you think so few people turned out to vote?
The reason is that in Tehran and those other places where not many people have bothered to vote, is that the people are actually dissatisfied with the present government, and they're saying that given the fact that a number of leading reformists were disqualified, and given the profile of the power, the pattern of the power which exist in Iran, even if there would have been more reformist and pro-Khatami candidate entering into Majlis, they wouldn't have been able to make any substantial changes. So why should we bother to vote? That's the problem. However, in other constituency where there is more rivalry amongst the candidates, more people have bothered to vote. And in those constituencies, mainly the reformists have won.
I want to ask you about why the conservative vote, or the more conservative vote, appears to be split in Iran between the pro-Ahmadinejad forces and those against the president. The conservatives supporting Ahmadinejad did win a large number of seats, but those against him also won a significant number. Why do you think the forces are split?
Yes, you see, the point is that the conservatives, during when we had the presidential election, and when Ahmadinejad won that election about 3 years ago, the conservatives were very much united. The drawing line, the splitting line, if you like, was between the reformists and Hashemi Rafsanjani on the one hand, and the conservative on the other. However, because of Ahmadinejad's not so much successful performance, because of his poor performance as far as the economy is concerned, a number of leading conservatives have actually become critical of Ahmadinejad's performance. So much so that they were not prepared to back him the way that they did 3 years ago. That's why we are observing this split amongst the conservatives.